Good morning, my name is Kate Satterfield.
My name is Anushka Guguri.
And I'm Ashen Adamic, and today we will be presenting on a research question. In the 21st century, to what extent has feminism had an effect on American society? Our position on this is because of feminism, great progress has been made in areas such as wage/hiring gap and sexual violence. Much more progress should be made in areas such as intersectionality and bodily autonomy.
One of the most prominent issues that feminism faces is the wage gap. This gap can be seen by looking at the median annual earnings from the U.S. Department of Labor. In the year of 2019, women earned $47,299, while men earned $57,456. While there is still much work to be done, feminism has made great progress in closing this gap between men and women. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 was passed as a result of feminist movements, and according to History.com, mandates equal pay for equal work by prohibiting employers from paying men and women different wages or benefits for jobs that require the same skills and responsibilities. In 1963, the year the act was passed, women made 59 cents on the white man's dollar. Over time, however, this gap has closed as a result of the act, and in 2020, women earned 82 cents for every dollar a man earned. Additionally, the Stop the Robbery campaign has had great success in spreading awareness on the gender pay gap, as well as stressing the fact that women are being robbed of their money. It posted tweets with the hashtag Stop the Robbery and blocked it out by 28%, offering a visual representation of the stolen pay that affected women, not even taking into account the larger gaps that women of color face. It got over 500 million media impressions and over 281,700,000 Twitter impressions. As feminism continues to dismantle the patriarchy and the societal views that women face, it dismantles female dependency as well.
1 in 6 women will be sexually assaulted. Despite this alarming number, we have still made progress in this area as a result of feminism. Feminist movements and actions have allowed the rates of sexual assault to decrease and have given victims of sexual violence justice. For the purpose of this presentation, any instance in which one party does not give clear consent or is unable to give clear consent and is neither coerced nor forced is sexual assault. The Violence Against Women Act, put into place as a result of efforts of feminist and grassroots organizations, brings attention to violent crimes against women. As seen in this visual, 1 in 4 women will be victims of domestic violence and 1 in 5 will survive completed or attempted sexual assault. Yet, despite this, the Violence Against Women Act, put into place in 1994, has decreased sexual assault by 63%. The Violence Against Women Act accomplished this by mandating restitution to victims of sexual assault, enhancing sentencing for repeat federal sex offenders, and authorizing grants to law enforcement to investigate and prosecute violent crimes against women. All of this comes from the Violence Against Women Act overview, funding, history, legislation, and reauthorization. The Violence Against Women Act has achieved making sexual assault a legal battle that women have a chance at winning rather than one based on hearsay. Modern movements and protests that have come about as a result of feminism have also helped further the fight against sexual assault. The Me Too movement, a prime example of this is the Me Too movement. The hashtag MeToo went viral in 2017 and opened the world's eyes to the scale of sexual assault. From there, it grew into an all-out movement, inspiring things like what happened to Cyntoia Brown. In early 2019, Me Too joined national grassroots and social justice organizations to demand clemency for Cyntoia Brown, a young black woman who was imprisoned at 16 years old for defending herself against her abuser. Weeks later, Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam granted full clemency to Cyntoia, and she was released on August 7th. It's due to this movement that women like Cyntoia Brown are finally awarded the justice that they deserve. As you can see in this pie chart depicting results from a survey studying the impacts of Me Too, 57% of respondents said it impacted culture and society at large. This is evidenced by Cyntoia Brown's case.
While feminism has had a significant impact on women, it has not affected all women equally. Unfortunately, white women from the upper middle class are the ones benefiting the most from the effects of feminism, and women of color are left to deal with the inequalities women face at a greater scale. By looking at the median annual earnings from the U.S. Department of Labor, it is clear that not only does gender play a big role in earnings, but race does as well. While white women are still paid significantly lower than white men, they are still paid more than black and Hispanic men, as well as black and Hispanic women. Hispanic women have the lowest median annual earnings out of any ethnicity and gender, and the difference in median annual earnings between white non-Hispanic men and Hispanic women in 2019 was $29,098, while the difference between white non-Hispanic men and white non-Hispanic women was $13,884. Moreover, women of color have higher abortion rates than white women, a direct result of less access to contraceptives as well as a combination of racism and discrimination. In 2014, white non-Hispanic women had 10 abortions per 1,000 reproductive women, compared with 16.3 per 1,000 for other non-Hispanic groups such as Asians and Native Americans, 18.1 per 1,000 for Hispanic women, and 27.1 for Black women. This means that while abortion being banned would affect women of all backgrounds, it would affect women of color to a greater extent, furthering the divides in the American healthcare system as well as promoting systemic racism. Some people may pose the question of how race has anything to do with feminism. A quote by activist and author Sharon Smith sums it up perfectly. The reason racism is a feminist issue can easily be explained by the inherent definition of feminism. Feminism is the political theory and practice to free all women. Anything less than this is not feminism, but merely female self-aggrandizement.
A possible solution to reducing the inequalities between white women and women of color is creating more leadership opportunities for women of color through leadership programs and initiatives. In a study conducted by Simone Marine and Rachel Simmons, it was found that Black and Hispanic girls are most likely to self-identify as leaders than girls of other races. This, however, is not manifested into existence. By looking at executives by race and gender, it can be seen that only 2% of executives are Black women, 1% Hispanic women, and 1% Asian women. This is by creating initiatives to push girls of color into leadership roles, the wage gap will close and contraceptive will become more accessible through expanded health care. Furthermore, having more women of color in areas such as politics will bring awareness about the intersection issues that women of color face. Some limitations to our solution is that this will not be an immediate change, but have an impact on upcoming generations. Women of color in leadership positions, this will not also change the attitudes of people, and they might be faced with scrutiny due to gender and racial biases.
Another aspect of women's rights that has regressed rather than progressed is that of bodily autonomy. As shown in this map, states that were previously lenient towards abortion rights have actually grown more hostile, and this is true in the South especially. Ever since Roe v. Wade, a court case that determined a woman's right to choose to have an abortion was protected by the U.S. Constitution, states have tried to find loopholes and ways to overturn it. From the Guttmacher Institute. Overall, most states, 35 in total, remained in the same category in all 3 years. However, of the 15 states that moved from one category to another, every single one became more restrictive over the period. This shows the impact that feminism has had on state legislature, virtually none. The numbers on this slide indicate the massive amounts of restrictions placed on abortion just in the last year. If this trend continues, as it appears to, the right to choose will become obsolete for women. Just looking at places like Texas, where Senate Bill 8 was recently introduced, shows this regression. SB 8 not only bans abortion after 6 weeks, but also allows any citizen to sue someone they suspect of providing an abortion service, whether that be performing an abortion, helping someone obtain an abortion, or planning to perform an abortion. In Mississippi, the court case Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization is determining whether or not Mississippi's law prohibiting abortion after 15 weeks is constitutional.
Countless solutions have been enacted to counteract pro-life legislation, but they have been widely unsuccessful. Due to this, our solution focuses on decreasing the amount of abortions without completely outlawing them. Outlawing abortions will do nothing in decreasing the number of them, but increases the number of unsafe ones. According to American Progress, things we can do to reduce the number of abortions include comprehensive sexuality education that include medically accurate information about abstinence and contraception, and create greater access to contraception through and create greater access for emergency contraception. As you can see in this first map, it can be seen that states that only provide abstinence-only education have higher teen pregnancies than the states that provide comprehensive sex education. In this graph, you can see that women that have access to free contraception have less pregnancies and therefore less abortions. Some limitations to the solution is that parent interference and fundamentalistic views may prohibit mandated sexual education. Will this allow minors access to contraception? If so, this could be seen as advocating for teen sex.
Here are our works cited. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Step together if you would. And would you guys like back up just a half a step so I can get you on camera? Thank you. All right, Kate, first question's for you. Kate, can you give me one specific way that your thinking changed as a result of Ash's paper?
So Ash, she originally talked about the wage gap, which was, Anushka presented this, and my perspective changed because I didn't really think about the intersectionality aspect of it, which Anushka also talked about. So I didn't think about how the wage gap was, how women of color were impacted differently by the wage gap. So for example, white women, while earning less than white men, still earned more than black women or Hispanic women. So that's how my thinking changed.
All right, thanks. Anushka, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your better understanding of the problem that you guys identified?
Kate's research had the greatest impact on me because even though I knew about sexual violence and feminism before I read her paper, she went into a lot of movements that I didn't even know about. So it really furthered my understanding of the impact that feminism has had. And in her paper, she talked about movements like the slut walk and stuff, which I never even heard of. So.
All right, thank you. And Ashton, what's an example of a compelling argument from one of your peers' individual reports that you decided not to use in your presentation, and why?
We included all papers in our presentation, but one of them that we kind of just touched on was, well, we included all of them, and some of them we did both of them in like a presentation. So like for the wage gap, we also included intersectionality into that. So we didn't leave anything out.
You guys are done.